get close. Alright, by a show of hands, who likes drinking here? Oh, come on, more hands than that. More hands. Come on. I'm not talking about soda or like orange juice. I'm talking about drinking hard alcohol, whiskey. Alright, back to that. Alright. Well, now imagine the liquor you once allowed to drink freely gets hit with a large federal tax, and you're no longer able to afford to drink as much as you used to. This is what happened to the early Americans right after the Revolutionary War. To pay for the cost of the war, the government had to place a tax on all liquors. The people weren't too happy about this decision, so they started to ignore the federal taxes and start making their own alcohol. All of this led up to what I'm about to share with you. The history of the great American-made moonshine. Can everybody see that? All right. Very cool. Well, thank you. I'll be discussing with you the background of moonshine, how to make it, and the difference between homemade and commercial liquor. First, we'll go with some history. Yeah. What is moonshine? The term moonshine comes from Britain and means any job or activity done late at night. The making of illegal alcohol adopted this term because those who made it did it late at night and out of sight of the authorities. Moonshine also went by many different names: corn liquor, skullcracker, hillbilly pop, my favorite, white lightning. Those who made moonshine could sell it directly to consumers, or they'd sell it to the bootleggers. In the colonial times, in order to transport liquor, they hid it in their riding boots, hence the name bootleggers. Later on in the early 1900s, during the Prohibition days, moonshiners would begin using cars as a way of more efficiently transporting their liquor. Which is why I got this picture. Just like the General Lee and the Dukes of Hazzard, the movie or series, they needed a fast car to escape the cops, which is what usually they did, and to transport the liquor from place to place and customer to customer. That's when people started experimenting with horsepower, making cars faster. And this experiment eventually led to the wonderful sport NASCAR. In fact, the first winner of NASCAR also used that same car way back in the day to bootleg some whiskey around town and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool fact. So now you know a little history of the moonshine. Let's talk about how exactly it's made. You got your little contraption here. Moonshine is made from the following ingredients: cornmeal, sugar, yeast, and water. When these ingredients are combined, they're referred to as a mash, which is what sits down here. And this still right here is set at 172 degrees Fahrenheit. During the making of alcohol, two processes take place: fermentation and distillation. Fermentation is a chemical reaction that causes the yeast to break down the sugar, which is what happens right in this deal here. This results in alcohol. Distillation is a process of evaporating the alcohol from the mash and collecting the steam, which then gets condensed and turned back into alcohol, which is what happens here. The steam rises up into this tube and down into here. The thumb keg, which is this one, evaporates the alcohol to make sure it's pure and clean from any debris, which didn't happen very often. A lot of weird things ended up in the liquor. The alcohol is then condensed by running the steam through a tube surrounded by cool water, which is what you see right here, this little spiral copper tube that comes out and leads to the pure liquor. Now, I'm not sure if most of you, if any of you have, even though the processes for making any type of alcohol is pretty much the same, there are many different between homemade and commercial liquor. I'm sure most of you, well, probably not, have heard of the saying that moonshine will make you blind. No? Alright. It actually happened. Homemade liquor, of course, wasn't FDA approved, so there was no certainty that it was safe and okay for people to drink. Sometimes insects, small animals might end up in the mash, and weird diseases might end up in the mash to make it, and since it's only at 172 degrees, all of the bacteria wouldn't burn off. So to make the alcohol more potent sometimes and appealing, they would add manure, embalming fluid, bleach, rubbing alcohol, or paint thinner. And stuff you use at like household products. You imagine drinking that like in your liquor. And you won't know after a couple drinks, but most of these ingredients are poisonous and will kill you or make you go blind, which is what the saying says. Another difference between the two is aging. Commercial liquor is amber and golden because it is aged for years in a charred oak barrels, which mellows the harsh taste. Moonshine is completely clear, straight out of the kilt, you know. It's just straight there, no sitting, no nothing, no major purifying. Moonshine is risky to make and could end up in some serious damages to your body. So I'll leave it up to the professionals to do all that for you. But if you want to really try and make your own liquor at home, which I don't think you should, but if you want to, then here's a cheap and easy way to do it. It's called the $2 still. It consists of a crock pot, copper tubing, milk container, and a glass jug going this direction. And pretty much just the same fermenting and everything happens in this. And don't mind this. But the next time you take a full drink of a whiskey, make a toast to those who made it possible to drink freely in America, because without them, we wouldn't have these good times to talk about. And that's it. Yeah. Now go back to this one. Alright, go take a rip. Oh, wait,
All right, Andrew, what did you think?
1 second.
Be honest.
Okay, to start off with, the attention getter was generic but effective, and it really got the crowd interested in the topic. There was a good thesis, and it effectively foreshadowed the topics. It was amazing that you made the connection between Moonshine and NASCAR. The visuals were really well made and effective. However, the lack of equipment in the room made the slides hard to see. You had good signposts and good flow between topics. Citations were kind of, few and far between. Yeah. Maybe a few more of those would have made it a lot more effective. There was a good conclusion and effective credit given to the true patriot moonshiners. And the only major flaw was you really read directly from the paper. But it was good. Good job.
Well, thank you. I'll let you sit down before we go.
Okay, that's fine. All right. Well, I'd agree with a lot of the things that Andrew said. The attention device, it was a little generic. I did think that you did a nice job identifying the topic. Your goal could be a little bit sharper. There is a preview. Organizational things are okay, and they're okay transitions. Nothing problematic. They could probably be sharper, but it's not like they were a huge drawback. There's not much citation of the supporting material at all, or where any of that information came from. I think that's a little problematic. I think we could use some examples and some more of the stories that connect the things like the NASCAR and the Moonshine will make you blind kinds of things. I think there needs to be a little bit more data on a couple of points like that. On the visual images, you've got a good idea here. The problem is that the delivery system is just not adequate for this audience and situation. So I think you need to plan on that. You know what the situation is that we're in here. That 85% of what you had there could have been put on a transparency, solved that problem, made it easy for everybody to see. A little bit too much reading. I would agree you need to be a little bit more familiar, and I hate that that's it ending. I like the summary that came before that.